So the thing about this thing is it's from, hey, Craig Stewart. What's up, man?
Shit,
There's the list. So
it's super long as of right now, so watch out.
It's on the table over there.
Right on the front.
So the thing about this is not cutting edge technology.
No, it looks kind of old.
This is my old recording thing from my old band days.
Oh, I got you.
2008.
2008? Was that when you were in high school?
No. I graduated in 2003.
Oh, for real? You're older than me?
Yeah.
I'm 06. I thought you were younger than me, man.
So what year were you born?
88.
88. So I'm 85.
Nice.
So,
when's your birthday? You were younger than me. January 1st.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you were
Year's
January 6th for just a second. I don't know why.
Not quite. No.
So
this is back when January had nothing exciting in it.
Well, this is awesome,
80s.
dude. I kind of got that feeling from you that you were in my age range.
Yeah.
You know, just because of watching you, as far as how comfortable you are with talking and referencing things, and I think that only comes with a certain age group.
A certain you've lived enough life to figure things out.
I guess so. I just turned 39. Just last month, so it's.
Is there anything you want to do before you're 40?
This is a very sore subject to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
I would like to perform for a pretty big room. I haven't got to that point yet. So started comedy at the very end of 2022.
Right.
So I've been doing a lot. I think
you're a couple years in now.
For almost 2 years.
Almost
yeah.
2.
For as much as I've been doing it, I've been doing it a lot, but as you know, it just comes with time and experience, and then
man. That's
getting those opportunities.
And it's annoying because all those older comics are always like, number one, all you got to do is just keep doing comedy, which is an annoying answer when you're 18 months in.
Yeah.
And then when people are always like, oh, it's just a long game, and you're like, no, it should be quicker, and it just isn't.
Yeah.
It just isn't, man. Like, I've tried to tell people, like, in the past, like, there's not that many steps to comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, between open micer and headlining, there's like 6 steps, but they're steep-ass steps.
Oh, yeah.
So once you get up to one, you're there, but it takes a minute to get to the next one,
Well, so when did the whole thing, this idea of wanting to do this start for you?
Oh, like...
What age was...
I've been performing since I was in 10 years old in 4th grade, something like that.
Were you doing comedy as a kid? I was
in the school play, and then I was in theater all throughout high school.
Okay.
I went to college for theater. I taught theater for a number of years.
Nice. Yeah, I did a little bit of acting, but after I did like a semester of just community college, and then I got to this point where it was like, you can either go to this place or you can go to this place. And the one place that I chose, the lady, whatever reason, just... class got canceled, and then I never went to the other one, and I just didn't.
Right, you just never went to.
Yeah, I was just like, all right, well, I guess acting is just, I'm done with it now. So, I used to make like little short films and stuff with my friends, that's kind of how I learned how to do like.
Yeah, we grew up in the Jackass era. That's kind of where all that. Stuff. I feel like Jackass is one of those things that propelled. If Jackass and YouTube hadn't come out kind of relatively at the same time, YouTube wouldn't be nearly as big as it is. Mm-hmm. You can argue like America's Funniest Home Videos and stuff like that is in that era too, but I think Jackass is really what people our age, at least, especially dudes our age, were like, oh, you can just make stuff and have it be on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all those guys were doing was the same stuff you guys were doing.
So what were your favorite movies growing up, when you were a kid?
Oh, jeez, there's a ton of them. Like comedy-wise, my family was real big into Mel Brooks.
Oh, okay,
so I saw like Blazing Saddles like way too young.
Yeah,
as like a 9-year-old.
There's some stuff in that movie now that it's
Young
pretty fun to watch.
Was big in our house. We liked a lot of like the 90s movies, like Twister.
Oh yeah. I saw that in the theater. Yeah. For whatever reason, I saw Jurassic Park like 6 times when I was a kid. Just the family was like, "Let's go to the movies," and it was like one of.
I remember seeing Lion King in
King.
Kirkland, as a matter of fact.
Oh, nice.
At the movie theater, like right where the park is, Peter Kirk Park.
Yeah.
Whatever that movie theater is, we saw it like opening weekend.
Oh, really?
I remember being like, "We're one of the first people to see Lion King," and it was so cool.
I mean, that run, Disney's run in the 90s. It's just,
Disney.
I mean,
hell yeah.
Yeah,
dude.
Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and then all the way to Toy Story.
Right.
And like, I was the perfect age. I was 1995. I was 10.
Right.
So and
we were lucky too because we're
so
just old enough to where when Pokemon started getting expensive.
Yeah.
It was like I was like 13 when it started getting expensive, and I was like, I don't need to hang out with Pokemon anymore. It was like the perfect timing.
I was just when Pokemon came out, I was like, this is dumb. Like and when it first came out, I think the first video game I remember was this game called Pokemon Snap.
Snap, yeah.
Which is and I was like, this is Pokemon? Like, you just take pictures and like, no, you battle. You battle. And then, a few years later when Pokemon Go came out, I mean, I was just literally when my kid was born, I'm pushing her in the stroller on Pokemon Day.
To find Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm like, I got to get the Squirtle that's got the shiny, the diamonds and stuff like that. I have a friend that has been collecting that stuff forever, and he's got like thousands and thousands of dollars.
But how much has he invested? Tens of thousands of dollars into it. It's like not trying to shit on your friend, but
he's an acquaintance. I wouldn't say we're buddies. Not until he buys more tickets to my show, right?
In 20 years, when Pokemon's not a thing anymore, or when Pokemon's in its fucking 85th iteration of whatever it is.
Did you collect anything when you were younger?
No, not really. I wasn't really. Never really been into collecting stuff. Yeah. Like I said, I tried the Pokemon thing for a while. Yeah. I thought it was cool because of the dice game or the table game.
Yeah.
Because we had like a Wizards of the Coast. Remember Wizards of the Coast?
Yeah,
nerds just went and played, and then Counter-Strike became big.
It sounds familiar. I mean, I'm from California, so
I got you.
I don't know if
that might have been more of a local thing. It might have been a West Coast thing.
I mean, definitely when we were younger.
It was like a tabletop gaming store, essentially.
It seemed like for a while there was a lot of like communal gaming things, and then it stopped for a while, and now it just seems like a big resurgence. Like, I've never played Warhammer, but I know what it is.
Right,
Everybody tells me. Actually, I had a friend that was like, "You should just paint those figures. You can make so much money just painting figures." I was like, "Well, I mean,
why not, man?"
Yeah,
it's a weird hustle.
I don't know if I
really have a hustle.
I don't know if I have time. I barely have enough time to write jokes.
Right.
So, but. Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, before stand-up, I liked the SNL, the Adam Sandler,
we were big.
David
we were like huge stand-up
Farley.
fans, but like, I remember my mom and dad really liked stand-up.
Really?
The first one that I really remember was Kevin James' Sweat the Small Stuff.
Oh, yeah,
Because it was on Comedy Central. So we could watch it on TV, and I just remember my mom, dad, and sister thought that was the funniest damn thing.
Yeah.
Like, Kevin James isn't unfunny, but it was,
I mean, I think he's a great he's really great at physical comedy.
Much so.
There are some people that, you can't do everything, obviously. Right. I mean, I'm not really a great I'm not even anything at this point. I'm just an open micer. But with that said, you're doing a lot of different stuff. You seem like a more well-rounded comic. Like you are performing in Seattle. You're performing in Tacoma. You're going to these weird spots in like Pasco and Kitsap and Bellingham. You've been up there yet?
I'm going up to Bellingham in October.
There you go.
My first time doing comedy up there.
Doing the roasts. Doing. I don't know. Do you have a favorite thing that you do? I mean, or is it just a little bit of
comedy,
everything?
Lately, I've really been liking. Like I've been blessed enough to get longer set opportunities.
Yeah.
25, 35. I've done a 45-minute set. I did a 55-minute set.
I can't even see that in my future right now.
It's a totally different thing, and like just having done so many 3, 4, 5, 10-minute sets in the last 3 or 4 years, getting to like slow down and explore the bit a little bit more because you have 25 minutes is a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big difference. The difference between 10 and 15 is huge. The difference between 15 and 25 is even bigger than that. It's like they exponentially get bigger as you go into the set lengths. And that's really what I've been about right now. Like I've been lucky enough. I work with, individual producers. I work with the Cozy Comedy's one of the companies around. I work with Harvey's Pop-Up. That's another company that's around out of the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I know about those guys.
They're out of Portland. And they give me longer sets, and it's nice. They also pay me to do it, which is super dope.
Yeah, no, man. Like, so you're from Washington?
Yeah,
You just grew up in Washington?
I grew up in Redmond. It was
Redmond,
like
okay.
6 miles from here.
Yeah, nice. So
this used to be something different. I don't remember what it was, but I remember it being something totally different because we used to go to that 7-Eleven.
Oh, yeah?
It's right next door, yeah.
So I understand this used to be called like the Cock and Bull or something at one point.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say it's
I
some
never
weird,
went, I've
some
never
like
been
sexual
here,
name or something that's not actually sexual.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Anything is sexual these days. You got to be careful with what we say. But so when did as far as stand-up, wanting to do it, stand-up, go out and stage, when did that whole thing start? Like,
I don't really
that
know.
idea?
I think I just always liked being on stage. It's never been, like, hard for me to be on stage, per se. Like, a lot of people, of course I get nervous. Of course I overthink everything, but I don't get, like, the crazy anxiety. I never have.
Yeah.
Even as a kid, I was just like, oh, no, this is fun. And then you get a laugh, and it's like, oh, this is what I want to do forever.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah.
But stand-up specifically, I worked in educational theater for 10 years, and I hadn't performed in a really long time. And I just told my boss, I was like, look, I don't know what I want to do. And she was like, well, you've been writing jokes. You've been writing these things. Why don't you go try them somewhere? And I was like, I don't know. I don't really want to do that. I'd rather get back into acting. And she was like, no. That's not what your path is anymore. So I told her this was a discussion in January 2020. And I was like, if I haven't gotten on stage by, like, let's say April, you got to trick me to get on stage somewhere. And then, of course, the whole pandemic happened.
Yeah,
that didn't happen. But I just kept writing through the pandemic, and I started doing little videos, just being stuck at my house, and they were pretty much just stand-up bits. And I just signed up from there and been doing it ever since.
So where's the first place you went to do comedy? Where was it?
Tacoma Comedy Club.
Tacoma Comedy Club.
Yep.
So walk us through that night. What were you thinking and feeling? You had material prepared?
I drove all the way down there. I didn't realize, because that show starts at 7:30, so I left my house at like 5. I didn't realize it was going to take 2 hours to get there.
Oh, okay.
Almost ran out of gas.
At the time? Were you living
I was living in Redmond, yeah.
Okay.
I almost ran out of gas, so I had to stop and get gas.
Oh, man.
And then I got to the club, and I was like, oh, thank God I'm here. I have my mask and everything, because they were still making you do that. And I go in. They look at my ID, and they go, oh, dude, your ID's expired.
Oh.
And I was like, bro, I drove 2 hours to be here. I almost ran out. I had this whole, and he was like, no. Clearly, you're over 21. We're going to let you stay. But you just can't drink. And I was like, oh, no, I can't drink. What a shame.
Yeah, what am I going to do?
I'll tell you, man, the weirdest thing about being on stage the first time was I was telling these jokes, and people laughed at them. It was just such a weird. It was
cool.
A weird thing to be like, oh, people are responding to this, and I had never really had that because I was an actor for a long time. When you're an actor, you live through what's happening. When you're on stage as a stand-up, you kind of have to live what's happening in the room as it happens.
Well, I would imagine. I mean, when I didn't do acting that long, but I was just so focused on trying to remember the lines, I couldn't even really focus on being a character. I guess it was just. Didn't for me. I didn't have enough experience with that.
There's tricks you learn as you do it longer to where like people have asked me, comics have asked me, they're like, how do you memorize so much material? And I'm like, it's a shitty answer, but I've just done it for a long time. My brain knows how to do it. Like I've been memorizing lines for 25 years,
Now, I don't know if this is true, but I heard a rumor that Anthony Hopkins used to read a script 300 times.
Oh, that's not uncommon.
Yeah.
That we used to get to points like in college, especially if it was like a super speech-heavy show, where you could be like, you would call for a line, which means that you forgot your line, and the stage manager would read you part of it. And like one time, I remember I was like, line, and she goes, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm on the right page. And I was like, I think it's page 43. It's like at the bottom, at like the third, like the third indent from the bottom. And she looked and she was like, how do you know that? And I'm just like, I don't know, dude. That's just how our brains work, man. Like, it's an odd thing to associate a physical spot on a piece of paper with what you're going to say out loud. But it's just, you do it so long that it's just because it's not, I wouldn't say it's second nature. You still have to work at it, but it gets easier. You know, stuff like that. That's real odd to think of. I haven't thought of that memory in a long time.
Yeah, I love unlocking that. I always think that, like I was just thinking earlier about my daughter's 6, and I was like, man, I don't even remember being 6. But I think, once if somebody can trigger your memory with a certain word or something like that, then it just comes pouring out. Yeah. So hopefully I have those childhood memories still in there. But we're talking post-pandemic, 2021.
Yeah, 2021, early April 2021. What's funny, too, is I signed up for March. I was just having this discussion with other people. I don't know how they do the sign-ups there. Yeah. I don't know if there is a tried-and-true method, but I signed up in March, and they didn't let me on. And so I signed up at the end of March for April. Like, I signed up on, March 23rd.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, you're on the 3rd. And I was like, oh, no, I got to write jokes now. Yeah. It was a panic attack.
That happened to me one time, yeah. I had 2 days in a row. I had Six and Proctor on Monday and then the other one on Tuesday. I was like,
that's such a fun little club, dude. Yeah. Six and Proctor is it's a gem, dude.
Yeah.
It's a nice place to work stuff out because it's small enough that even if there's only 10 people and all the comics in there, it's like a quarter full.
Yeah.
And even if there's people sitting way far away, you can still get a reaction. It might not be, it might be a groan, it might be a laugh, it might be a little bit of a titter from somebody, but at least you can hear the reaction.
Yeah.
In these bigger rooms, sometimes it's hard because people sit 30 feet away from you.
Yeah, it's that.
I can't even tell if this is good or
awful. I mean, and the guys, I don't know how it works. I don't really know I don't know too much about Tacoma Comedy Club, but at least at Six and Proctor, the guys that work there, I don't know if they work at the other club or if they're just exclusively at that one, but those guys at Six and Proctor are all freaking great guys, Logan, Gavin, Mason,
most of those guys.
Most of those
guys actually work. Oh, I guess they both kind of work both places. Logan really only works downtown. I mean, Willie bartends up there.
Oh, Willie, too. Willie's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, he was just opening for Kurt Metzger this weekend. He was pretty good on Friday or Saturday, whenever.
And I know I missed it. I think, was it Stephen Ryan? Was he hosting? Yeah. He was just here.
Steve is low-key one of the best comedians in the Pacific Northwest. He just needs to figure out what his voice is and his cadence and how to just do that for an hour, and he's going to be super funny, dude.
I hate to try and categorize things into different scenes because I feel like a comedian, you should be able to just go and work wherever you work. But it seems like there are people that prefer to be in certain places. So for me, it's like when I go to Tacoma, I just feel just a different energy than when I'm in Seattle.
Tacoma and Seattle are very different places, especially for comedy. Seattle is very, I'm here to see what you're doing. They're not very vocal. Even the good crowds in Seattle are not real vocal. Tacoma is more like, what are your jokes?
Yeah.
I use this example. There's a gal, she's not here anymore, but she would open her set, especially June and July, and open her set with I'm a lesbian, and then pause. Because in Seattle, that gets you a clapter.
Yeah.
Gets you a little bit of an applause break. But in Tacoma, it's okay, what's the joke?
Yeah.
It was not people. And I remember her specifically saying to me one time, I don't know if it's because I'm a lesbian. I was like, dude, people here don't give a fuck if you're a lesbian. They came to the comedy club to hear jokes.
Yeah.
I'm a lesbian is not a joke. It's a statement. It's a setup, maybe, but that's not she was just perturbed by that. And I was like, no, dude, it's just that you have to get on with it.
Yeah.
As you get further out of Seattle too, even Puyallup, people are different.
Yeah.
Over here on the east side, people are different. Seattle's they're very smart. They're very well educated in Seattle, and how do I put it? They are following you, but they're too polite to laugh at stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's okay, but the only reason I came here is for you to laugh
at
me.
Yeah, I mean, I was at Club Comedy the other night, and it was pretty good, halfway full. The room was halfway full, and I feel like the room, Club Comedy and Six and Proctor, very similar in size, similar in layout.
Very much so.
But crowds definitely different. And Club Comedy, I could see people definitely laughing, but still almost as if they don't want to let loose. They don't want to.
I'll give you that. They're almost too uptight.
It's that joke's a little edgy. I don't know if I should fully laugh at it. I can give it a little chuckle to say that I acknowledge it's funny, but I don't want people to think like I think that that's okay, you know. And with that said, it's not like anything that I say or anybody else says there is like bad, you know. I haven't.
Right. I'm not too controversial. I don't run into anything like that too often, you know. I was doing this joke for a minute that if Kamala Harris has to do one thing to get my vote as president, and she has to use "They Not Like Us" by Kendrick Lamar as her slogan and song, and like people. The first time I did it, a black comic came up to me and was like, "Bro, you got to remember what you look like. Like, that's not an unfunny joke, and I know you're not racist, but like, I was literally wearing a red shirt and a big ass white guy, and he was like, just be careful, man. Like, you can tell jokes like this. It was really eye opening, and I think what I figured out about that joke is it's not a comment on Kamala Harris. It's not a comment on any kind of politics. It's just a fun thing to connect two things together, and it just happens to be about politics.
Yeah. Have you had other jokes that gotten you not in trouble, but people not happy?
Yeah, there's certain ones I used to.
You don't have to tell them, but I mean, just
I
like
reactions. I told somebody else I could have this joke.
Yeah,
there's been a couple like. I talked about Down syndrome at one point.
I have a joke, similar story. So.
You know, I got away from stuff like that because there's so many other people doing it. Number one, and like that, it's just a one-liner. The joke is penguins are just orcas with Down syndrome. And like it's a decent joke, but like it's so quick and like you have to think about it. But it's just nothing I'll ever say.
Yeah.
You know, especially like on a paid show or something like that. But it's a thought I had when I was probably writing a bit about penguins, and I was just like, okay, let's throw it in there. That's a decent line.
I had a joke, and this was based on just me being a young kid, and I was thinking about when I was a kid. So the joke is, when I was a kid, I thought all people with Down syndrome were related.
Oh, that's kind of funny.
and
see, but that's not like shitting on Down syndrome. You know, that's shitting on you as a dumb kid.
Exactly, but
you know, but you bring that subject matter.
But still, when you say that, there's like a lot of moans and groans. And I did have one comic who I really respect, who she wasn't very happy with that, and I was like, you know, I understand where you're coming from. It's and most of the peers I was hanging out with at the time would be like, screw that, just do what you're going to do and just be funny. But for me, I try to take it as a challenge. Like, okay, then I'm going to just try and write more and how can I be funny, not be dirty, but still be kind of true to what I want to.
Dude, not be dirty is going to get you so much more.
Yeah.
And if you can work clean and still be that 4 or 5 laughs a minute kind of person, you can make more money for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the reason I get a bunch of MC spots where I do is because I can do 10 to 15 minutes clean. Yeah. And it's relatable and it's funny and it's 4, 5, 6 laughs a minute. It's super advantageous for you to be able to do that. So I think there's a certain like hump you have to get to. Like I was talking about the stairs. Like you got to get to the 3rd or 4th stair before you can really just kind of not give a fuck about what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be able to prove that you're funny. You have to be able to prove that you can be in front of anybody before you can niche yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's like weird. It's like you have to be available to everybody before you can focus on what you want to do.
Well, it's like you have to build that general skill set before you to develop those specialized skills.
Do you feel like after you've started writing cleaner that you've gotten funnier, or do you feel like you connect with audiences better?
Yeah, I think
so
that
too.
I think that I've gotten better. And when I say clean, what I mean is you're
not reaching for the hot button.
Well, I try not to do anything about trans people. I try not to do. I did a lot of like making fun of myself, gay joke kind of stuff. I try not to do that. If I'm going to do anything about race, I try to do it in a way to where the white guy is the bad guy.
Right. That's a good decision.
Yeah. And I guess I've been doing a lot of jokes, I guess, about drugs and about like my experience with them and kind of my thought about them. And so to me, that material's not necessarily PG, but it's also not vulgar.
Right.
So
yeah.
That's the line I'm trying to ride right now, is trying to figure out how because I have a couple one-liners I think that go pretty good about, specific drugs that, I've done, and have a couple things about being a dad and my kid.
What people
and
are
all
going to
that,
like about that too is that that's a real experience.
Yeah.
I think people can see through bullshit really easily, and when somebody's telling a joke about something they don't know about or something they're just totally lying about,
yeah,
people are like, that's probably not true.
Yeah. Certain guys will come up and say, "Oh yeah, I was with this girl and that girl." And it's like, no, I could tell, bro. What are you talking about?
That's the truth.
I was with this lady the other night. I'm like,
Were you though?
Yeah.
Are you sure it was a lady?
Was it Siri? So back then, do you remember? Do you have any memory of anybody around during the first open mic or the first few open mics that you still know today?
Oh yeah, for sure. Naren actually hosted
Naren,
the first.
okay, yeah, of course.
Naren hosted the first open mic I was at, and afterwards I just wanted to meet him and shake his hand and say thank you. And he was like, "Hey, message me on Facebook and I'll send you the list of all the mics because you should be doing more mics."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that was my first one." And he was like, "Then you should definitely be doing more mics." Naren was there. There's a bunch of people. Joe Gomez was there. Richie Armani was there at the first mic that I was at. Mike Hansen, I think, was there. There's a bunch of people.
A lot of people still around
this
doing
is
big
also
shows.
I think the club opened again in March, and April was like the second month of mics. So there was a bunch of people. I think Luke Severai was there.
Was this pandemic times with like masks and?
Yeah, so there was still. I don't think we had masks. I think you had to wear it in, and then the tables were 6 feet apart. Okay. Yeah, so it was like a way different setup in there, but.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of the people I know around here that have been doing comedy not that long, everybody kind of started in that time. So there's only a few. Well, not a few, but there's
the older cats will tell you that comedy really weeded a lot of people. COVID really weeded a lot of people out.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the people who were just kind of having a good time did not come back after COVID.
Yeah. In the beginning, did you have any comics that kind of gave you any advice and helped you? Were really cool to you in the beginning.
Joe Gomez was a big one where he was just like, I know that this is a new world to you and this and that. And he was one of the first guys that was really like, I remember Joe said to me, "You're funny. You should continue to do this." Literally, he said to me, "You're funny," and I was like, "Oh, somebody said I was funny. That's all I need in life." And I'll tell you, compliments from strangers, some of the best things ever.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. First time I met you, we were actually on a show together, and it was Nick Cody had this show Tapped Out in Linwood.
In Linwood, at the Pirate Bar, whatever that thing was with the giant arcade in the back.
Yeah.
that was a good show.
Yeah, the only people that showed up that were not part of the show were my friends, my couple friends.
Nice.
And I remember you said a comment to me because you were like, "Hey, what kind of sweatshirt is that?" I was like, "I don't know." And you said, "See, you're a real comic because you don't even know what the hell you're wearing." And then I was, and not a compliment on my comedy, but a compliment from a stranger regardless. And I was like, I remember that. Man. And then I randomly went to Flight Path, and you were hosting, and I was like, "Oh, it's that guy. Hey, what's up, man?" And then I haven't been back to Flight Path, but
you should.
I had
Every Wednesday we're out there.
It was
It's a hard room. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for anybody. It's a hard room. I keep it intentionally hard because it makes everywhere else easier.
Yeah.
People don't necessarily like going there. What I get a lot of is like, "Oh, I was at Club Comedy. I had such a fun time, and then I came here." And it's like, I get it. I know it's a hard room, but if you're a good comic, you can. Even if there's nobody in that room or if that room's full, you can get everybody in that room for sure. Yeah.
Some of the best shows are the ones where there's like only a few people there. I had a show with Jay Marks and Mitch Schaub and Courtney Brennan and over at the Bad Bar. And that was such a fun show. Yeah. And there's 2 people besides us there, but
sometimes when there's nobody there, there's that aspect of fuck it that you just kind of throw out the window and you just have a good time. Yeah, that's super fun. I'll tell you, the ones that are full are very fun too.
Yeah,
they're very, very fun.
Yeah, I seen you. You did a pretty big theater show, right, with Jay. Was it Jay, the Super Troopers guy?
No, that wasn't me.
No. Well, you did a theater with.
I did a theater with Jimmy Shin.
Oh, okay, that's who it was.
In Portland.
Yeah,
that was super fun, man. I didn't know what it was when we were walking in there. I just saw the Spanish theater or whatever it was named.
So
and I was like, oh, cool. It's probably like a movie theater. I've done those.
So as you, being a guy who's not really nervous getting on stage, did that change your, or were you just like, it's just another gig, or was it?
Or it changed what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
And how I was gonna do it. It didn't necessarily. I mean, a lot of my comedy, you'll notice as a big person, I just stand still and say jokes. I'm not real physical, but in a big space like that, you have to be more physical. You have to move around.
Yeah.
You can't just move your head around and try to look at everybody. You actually have to go over there if you want to look over there. You got to go over here if you want to look over there. So, I mean, that's really the only thing I changed, but it was more like, oh shit, this is cool. Like I'm glad I drove 2 hours for this.
Yeah.
You know, it was like Thanksgiving weekend too, so it was like, I'm getting out of here, guys.
Yeah,
bye.
yeah. I mean, you know, I've had some friends that have driven farther for a lot less people. So
yeah.
Was that the biggest show you did, I think, at this point?
No.
So you did something bigger than that.
Yeah, the biggest show I probably did, I mean, person-wise, is probably Nate's. Nate's is like 300 full, and he did a weekend, not this Memorial Day, but Memorial Day before. And like on Tuesday, he was just outside at the mic, and he asked me specifically to come in for the weekend. And then he was just kind of like, there's like 6 or 7 other people standing around. He was like, if y'all want to come, I'll give you spots. And then nobody else showed up. And so we go out, and it's me and Frederick White, who works over there. He's a house comic over there. He's a DJ too. And he was just like, I'll light you when Nate gets here. And I was like, bro, I'm supposed to do a hot 10-minute set and get out of here. And he was like, I'll light you when he shows up. Like as I'm walking on stage. He's like, I'll light you when you're done. And I was like, okay, I did like 25 minutes in front of, Nate's was like 300 full. The Josh Blue was another big one, man. He had 5 shows and they were all sold out. That one was.
Was that at TCC?
Yeah, that was the big room in Tacoma. And man, just when you say a joke and it hits, just that, whoa. I was like, what is this madness?
And that's kind of like, that's the thing I want, you know, before I'm 40. It's like, you know, I think the biggest audience I've had is maybe like 40 people, something, which is nothing. I'm not complaining. I mean, that was an awesome show, but it's, you know, it's as a comic, you want to see that feedback.
Yeah, for sure.
I know that in a room of 10 people, I can get like half of them laughing. So I wonder what 10 times that would sound like.
It's amazing. I'll tell you, it's freaking great.
Nate, man, I don't know him. I've only been to the club a few times, but there was one time me and my friend Rob went there, and it was one of those late after TCC, you know, go second double dip as they call it, and there wasn't a lot of people there, and did our sets, and then Nate shows up, shakes everybody's hand, and then he goes up and just freestyles like 25 minutes.
Yeah, he'll do that.
And then he's about to leave. And then somebody, I think it was Jamal Boykin. I don't know if you know him. He's like a basketball player who is also.
Yeah, I know.
And he was like, "Hey, Nate, what about Cat Williams?" And like it was just the interview.
I was there for that.
Oh, were you there? Yeah. And then he just sat for another 20 minutes and just talked about.
I'll tell you the other thing I got to see Nate do. I don't remember who he was opening for, but it was the Sunday after. So it was Will Smith got slapped. On a Sunday.
Jesus.
And it was the Friday or Saturday after that.
Yeah.
And he walked up and he was like, let's talk about Will Smith.
Oh,
and then, I kid you not, dude, 10 laughs a minute for 20 minutes straight.
Jeez. Yeah.
Just, let's talk about Will Smith. And I was just like, I have no idea how long he's been on stage. That's like, and then he got done with his little rant about Will Smith and all this, and he was like, all right, I got to tell some jokes. And it was like, bro, you're 25 minutes into your set. And you're going to start telling jokes now? He's amazing, man. He doesn't get enough credit in the stand-up world as he should because on TikTok, he's a crowd work guy.
Yeah, but, I mean, this guy's been doing it, 20 years or something?
Yeah.
Like, he's absolutely a professional. And
I was fortunate enough. I used to go to Nate's, I still pretty much go to Nate's every week, but there was a string, like, when I first started going to Nate's where it was all hustle spots, so it was all bucket spots. And I got on, like, if I went 10 weeks, I got on 9 out of the weeks.
Yeah,
like
you're always doing the bucket spots, man.
So
even if you're not on.
I tell people that I started comedy at Tacoma, but I really learned how to do comedy on Nate's stage.
Yeah,
and to watch him start off with something that happened to him that day, and just be like, "There's a weird thing that happened at Chipotle today," and then 6 weeks later see it as a 7-minute bit, and then 6 weeks later see it as a 20-minute bit. That got him, I'm pretty sure, his contract with CAA. I mean, I don't know all about that, but he filmed like a preliminary thing at his club, and like people from like a big place came, and they filmed him, and it was like, oh, we've been watching this guy do this bit for like 7 weeks, and it was really cool to see it in its like finished iteration, you know, to go from, I had this weird thought in Chipotle today to, here's my 20-minute set about this guy named Trevor that works at Chipotle. Like, it's awesome, man.
And not only just his comedy. Hey, what's up, man? Not only just the comedy in general. I mean, just what he does for comedy, the community. I mean, I think his club is the largest black-owned club in America. And you know, me being from California, we had a club in. It was in Rancho Cordova. It ended up moving to a place called Pleasanton. It was called Tommy T's. And it was like...
I've heard of Tommy T's.
The only place, if you wanted to see, you know, Damon Wayans or Tommy Davidson or D.L. Hughley, you had to go there. And so, as a kid, you know, I loved that kind of stuff too. You know, I watched Comedy Central, Def Comedy. You know, I wasn't even a big stand-up fan, but, like, I had this... When we were talking about memories being unlocked... For whatever reason, and when I was like 14, I had a poster of Chris Rock's Bigger and Blacker
on
my wall.
This little white kid.
Yeah, and like I remember the poster was just like the old.
Like, here's the difference between black people and N-words. It's a little, it's a little you.
And it looked like one of those old No Limit album covers. You know,
I know what you're talking about.
The bling and all that, and I was like, wow. And then, of course, I definitely take Chris's side on that whole slap thing, man. Like. I was afraid for a little bit that like people were just going to start walking up to comics and trying to slap them on stage, but that stopped pretty quickly. I mean, I don't think anybody would try to slap you, but you know,
nobody is important enough to be slapped. I mean, Dave Chappelle got close.
Oh yeah,
but you know,
but Busta Rhymes is
he's
one
of the top. He's one of the top 3, if not the top comic in the world right now. I'm not surprised that somebody tried to come after him.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, speaking of Nate, another guy, a newer guy, younger guy, Trenton Cotton. I see his videos all the time. He's always on tour with Nate, and that guy kills me, man. Like have you seen the videos of him outside a comedy bar, like trying to get people to go? It's not like...
Yeah, he used to do that. He's out of Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
And he used to do that outside Colorado Springs, too. They had a little club there. I don't remember, 3 E's or 3 G's or something like that. And he used to do that outside of there, too. And those videos were good, too. Yeah. I actually met Trenton like 3 years ago when Open Mic Collective was still running that spot in Auburn, the A Street Pub. God, that was a good mic.
I never went there.
But he was featuring there. He was in town, reached out to Allison and and we just chilled in the back. He was like, I'm last. And I was like, okay, cool, bro. I'm second to last. You want to become friends? And we just like became friends from there. He's a super cool dude. I like him a lot.
Yeah, no, he's... one of the guys I think right now that I'm like, that guy is probably going to be one of the people that we're talking about at some point, you know, in the future, because he's just too, I think a lot about, I mean, we're going into some weird stuff here, man, but we talk about comedy and jokes and writing and all that, and that's a large percentage of it, but there's also that, like, creating that persona and kind of amplifying your persona a little bit. And I feel like all the best comics kind of have that, you know, and I think
very much
a lot of the people that are coming up in the Seattle and Tacoma are doing that as well, you know. I mean, Jeremiah said he might stop by tonight, you know, he's kind of that kind of Washingtonian, Aberdeen, stoner guy.
He's got a little edgy bad boy thing going on too that I really like. He's one of my best friends in this game.
Yeah.
Him and I talk a lot of really nerdy comedy shit, and he's been talking about lately, I don't think this is a secret, but he's been talking about lately like he's just having more fun on stage. It's like having more fun with the audience, having more fun. And he's like, dude, it's working. It's great to just go up there and have fun. People automatically want to have fun when you're having fun, and I'm like, yeah, dude, go have a good time.
Yeah, and there's other people. I mean, like Jess is a friend of yours, and she's got this kind of the she's got that like the nervous exactly, and the adult like I'm getting older, but I'm still cool kind of thing.
Right. I'm a cool mom.
And then like Mason, a guy I taught, like he's like the crowd work dude. Like when I see that guy, he's like I feel like he can walk up to anybody and talk to anybody and just get a conversation going.
Stand outside and talk shit with him all day long.
And it's the personalities that are coming out of the people, and I think that's some of the guys that I think that come here and they feature and they get a little frustrated with the reaction. It's like, amplify what you're doing, if you're going too hard, we'll tell you, but
I also think there's something to be said about gauging the audience and adjusting on the fly.
Yeah,
that is
very
like
true.
Huge, like it's something you just can't teach.
Yeah,
because you have to be telling your jokes, thinking about your jokes, thinking about what just happened, what's happening in the room, and gauging all that at the same. It just comes with practice, though,
Mm-hmm.
You've been in front of enough weird audiences,
Oh, also before we go into Luke, another guy that he just he's also a character. He's like the metal guy, the buff guy, high energy,
all day long.
You and him been friends a long time, right?
He's one of the first people that was really giving me opportunities that I kind of didn't deserve yet. And granted, I was doing work for him too. I was working the flight path. We actually worked that same spot that you were talking about. What was the name of that pirate bar?
Oh, Vessel.
Yeah,
they
Vessel
just closed
House.
it down. I think
for real.
They changed the name, and then like a month later,
they were like, "No, this is not worth having." But I did a show with him out there like a couple weeks after I'd done that show with you guys. A couple weeks before, I can't remember. Yeah, it was like I was working the door for him and doing stuff for him, and then he was like, "All right, I'll throw you 15 minutes up top. Go ahead and do that." So there's it's always good to have somebody that's like that step above you that you can learn from, and that's able to kind of show you the ropes and stuff like that. So yeah, he's been real good to me. I can't complain at all.
Yeah,
I will, but I'm not. I can't.
Yeah, no, I think he's gonna be coming back here, right, and doing a show. Like what, November, December, something like that.
He's up here, right around that time, I think.
Nice. Do you feel like there's an aspect of you that that you haven't been able to like let out yet, or something that you haven't shown people, or like, because like for me, I think about like I'm the punk rock guy, I'm the dad, I'm this and that. Because honestly, like what I said to Quinn, and I'll probably say to you, like when you guys kind of just give off comedian, then that's it. Like I don't really see you, like Adam Tiller's like kind of jock kind of dude, and like some of my other friends definitely drug dealer types, and then you can tell this guy.
Flight path too, I know.
This guy definitely went to college and became an engineer, but you just seem like a comic, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, so. I mean, I don't know. As far as the question goes, I know that there will be an aspect of comedy where I have to be vulnerable, where I'm Berbiglia calls it like telling secrets, something that you don't necessarily want to say in front of a bunch of people, but you gotta say in front of a bunch of people, and then to twist it and make it funny. The nice part is I can write jokes about stuff that's not vulnerable.
Yeah.
So although people will tell you that talking about being a 400-pound person is being vulnerable, but I'm just like, no, you have fucking eyeballs.
Yeah.
Like, and if you don't have eyeballs, I explain to you that I'm a giant man. Like, it's there's certain people that are like somebody had told me once. I think it was during that Josh Blue run that weekend, and they had messaged me and they were like, "Oh, what you talk about is so vulnerable," and I was like, "I don't even really get that. Like, I don't even understand how it's vulnerable. I just think it's funny, and that's what I put on stage."
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, there's gonna be a part of the comedy career at some point, if it keeps going the way it's going, that I'll have to do something like that.
I've noticed that not every, but a lot of comics that kind of get to that big, kind of headliner level, their first special is usually like telling you who they are, where they come from,
Very much
you know,
so.
their whole story.
Yeah,
like
very
Theo
much so.
Vaughn, his dad was a 70-year-old guy, and you know, Bert Kreischer was a college party guy, and The Machine, you know, this and that, and I remember like Dane Cook's first special, or Nick and Swartzen, that kind of stuff.
Do you listen to any black or female people? I'm just fucking.
You know who I really love. Well, I said earlier, Tommy Davidson, like Damon Wayans. Like
No,
I used to.
fucking with you.
I used to. Well, I mean, like when I was a kid, I loved the movie Booty Call. Like it's one of my favorite movies, you know, in the world. You've got to lick it before you.
Who's in Booty
You've
Call.
got to lick it before you stick it.
I think I'm actually thinking about Pootie Tang. I think I'm thinking about the
Pootie
wrong
Tang
black movie.
Pootie
That's
Tang,
a different
directed
one.
by Louis C.K. Actually,
For real?
Yes. No joke. That's how I knew who Louis C.K. was originally. Yeah.
Because of Pootie Tang.
Sign
Who
your
would ever
pity
thought
on the
anybody
runny
would've learned
kind.
Anything from Pootie Tang?
Yeah. Pootie Tang. Yeah. Dave Attell was in that movie. Yeah. Wanda Sykes was in that movie.
Bro, Wanda Sykes is one of the best
Oh,
comedians
God, yeah.
ever. She's on my Mount Rushmore. I was just telling somebody that yesterday. She's on my Mount Rushmore, I think. She's so funny to me.
I'll tell you, I do watch more women comics than black comics.
No, I was
but
just giving you shit.
No,
you just named 4 white dudes in a row. And like, this
I
is
wanna,
how people progress.
I want I tell you, like, I've only seen a little bit of Miss Pat, but she fucking makes me laugh so much. Linnell also, just
also
same
very
thing,
funny.
just
Very,
fucking
very,
so
very
great,
funny.
you know. So yeah,
Miss Pat is one of those people that's just, she's honest.
Yeah,
I don't think she's telling fucking jokes.
No.
I think she's just telling us about her life.
Yeah.
And she's hilarious in general.
Yeah.
So she's just saying facts.
Mm-hmm.
So she don't even have to lie in her stand-up.
Yeah.
You know? She's just saying what happened and how she reacted to it.
She reminds me of so many people that my sister used to hang out with.
Yeah. Big black girls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my sister's a big white girl, you know. And
Right.
she exclusively dates black men, and
Yeah,
sometimes
like
sometimes men that are not free. She should be on one of those TV shows, but she's cool though. You know, actually, any comics that are in Eugene for a show, let me know. I might be able to hook them up with a cheap hotel room.
Nice.
So she works for a hotel chain over there.
gotcha.
So they actually have a new club.
I was going to say they just opened a
Yeah,
club in
yeah.
Eugene. I was actually
Also-
going to talk to homie Nathan Hart about going down there sometime later this year.
Yeah, no, I would love to check it out. There's a lot of Jay Muse is going to be there, Annie Letterman. I think Kurt Metzger. I think
Nice.
now there's this. I feel like there's a circuit now, and people are going to go from, you know, Eugene to Seattle, Tacoma, and then over to Spokane, and it's like just an easy.
Well, I mean, Spokane, the same people who own Spokane own Tacoma.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's kind of, I don't want to speak on their business, but it seems like it's kind of a package deal. Like you get a weekend in Spokane, you get a weekend in Tacoma. They're not usually right next to each other, but they're close enough that.
I also see like bigger name people, like they will come to Seattle and they'll have some sort of another show pop up, you know, out of nowhere. Like Kevin Nealon, he did that show up in Skagit, and then something just popped up in Olympia.
Cozy Comedy.
You know, Cozy Comedy, right? Yeah.
Hoping they put me on that show.
Yeah, dude, that would be sick, dude. Yeah. Kevin Nealon is one of the best. I mean, I used to watch, like when I was a kid, watched SNL, Weekend Update, all that stuff. And then like Adam Ray. Adam Ray came up, did some stuff in Seattle, and then there was a big pop-up show, I think in like, was it Kent or something like, something crazy like that. So, you know, it's, I think comedians are, and I can, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but it feels like they're starting to feel like there's a scene up here now. Like maybe, because I just listened to an interview with Hans Kim, you know, who's from this area, and it was Greg Fitzsimmons, and it was like, what was it like doing comedy in Seattle? And he said, Seattle just felt like it was very separate from the rest of the world. You had Seattle and Portland, and that was it. You know, it just didn't feel like it was connected. And side note, Greg Fitzsimmons said, hey, who were some of the guys that influenced you and helped you out? And he said, first name he said was Gabriel Rutledge.
Nice.
Second name he said was Kermit Apio.
Nice.
So shout out to those guys.
Both awesome humans.
Yeah.
I like them both very much. Both very, very, very funny.
I just found out, I don't know Gabriel, but my mother-in-law just went to this family reunion on Orcas Island, and apparently she is cousins with his mom.
Oh, really? Huh.
So I guess
Small world.
we're related.
Yeah, fair enough.
But cool shit. I just, like I said, I love talk.
Gabriel Rutledge, I saw him not this last New Year's, but the New Year's before, and I was sitting at the club, and I was with Tony Peters and Greg Beechler, and I'd never seen Gabe, and I saw him do 10 minutes of material, and I turned to Tony, and I was like, he's said more jokes in 10 minutes than I've written in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And Tony just goes, he's going to do that for 45 more minutes. And he did.
Yeah.
Just bam, 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 bam. Does not let you stop to breathe for an hour straight.
Yeah.
He's such an impressive comic.
Yeah, that
I was like, oh, I'm not a comedian. After I saw him, I was like, what I do is nothing.
Every time I go to like laughs or something, I'm like, I'm not a comedian because, you know, I'm not at that part yet, not at that level. But
it just takes time.
Yeah, man, for sure. But it's called comedy. My podcast is called Comedy Simp because I'm actually a fan. Like I try to list, like, I feel like there's a lot of people that are, to no fault of their own, they're really just into what they're doing, and that's it. And as soon as I'm done, I'm going to leave and go to the next thing, which is fine. I mean, everybody's got lives, and you know, especially you want to hit multiple mics. But I also think there is an intense value to watching other comics, watching bad comics, watching mics all the way through, watching hosts, watching guys that do the light. And I feel like, you know, you probably do that too, right? I mean, you watch other guys.
I'm kind of on a kick. I've been going to see a bunch of the pros lately, and what I do instead, because like what people will tend to do, especially if like I'm a past comic down there in Tacoma, and I work for the club, so I feel like I should get every MC and every feature spot. You know, I feel like I should be headlining the club already. But what I try to do now is I go and I watch, like, what you can fall into is, you go and you see a professional comic, the first 40 minutes you just go, oh, why do these people get this opportunity?
Yeah.
And you see it as like a negative, I should be up there. But now I watch them and I'm like, what did they do that I don't do that got them there? Especially with the features right now, because like that's the next step for me, is to start featuring a clubs if I can, if I'm lucky enough to be able to do it at some point. So I'm really watching features like, okay, they have a consistent 20-minute set. They connect with the audience. They don't step on material that the headliner is going to cut. There's a number of things that you have to do. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now, and I think that's what more people should take advantage of. Yeah, is go watch, because, and here's the thing, you can go do your homework in the first 40 minutes, and then you get to watch. I just watched Dustin Nickerson.
Yeah, oh, dude, my friend just sent me a clip of
him talking about Gary Ridgway.
I don't know what he was. I don't know what he was talking about, but he just sent me a clip, and I was like, "Oh, I know people that were on that show. Yeah. That's so crazy." Yeah, and he's in California, and he just
saw him. I saw Kurt Metzger this weekend. I watched Ian Bagg at one point. Yeah. Just, you know, anybody who, if you get the emails from Tacoma Comedy Club, you're allowed to go. Yeah, there's certain stipulations that you got to watch, and you got to be really nice to the staff, but. You can go watch comedy for free, and the cool part is you get to watch a professional comedian for free. Yeah. Why are more people not taking advantage of that? I did it for the first time. Yeah. So I've gone to Tacoma. I've paid money. I saw Duncan Trussell way before I did comedy. Nice. It was a great experience. Yeah. I was actually in the, at TCC downtown, they have that table right up on the stage, just like the VIP. Yeah, that's where we sat when we watched Duncan. So it was cool, and that. When I saw that show, it wasn't even Duncan. It was whoever the opener was. I was like, this is what I want to do. I said, this person, nobody even knows who this person is, and they're having a good time, and that person's having a good time. And actually, I think it was a female. It wasn't even a guy. And but then, like you were saying, the emails, trying to meet some of these people, these comics in Tacoma, get to know them a little bit, and so I went to see Luis Gomez on Logan was hosting, and Zach Summerfield was featuring, and I had never seen Zach other than at an open mic. And to watch him do a 20-minute set, I was like,
It actually, I learned a lot, and the biggest thing is I was like, dude, that guy is so natural. He's just so natural, and like, just doesn't. There's not. I mean, not to say Logan's not either, but like Zach is just doesn't even seem like he's telling jokes. It just seems like he's talking, and it's funny, you know. And yeah, that was a big thing. Is I wanted to see him, especially because I know he's gonna be moving and all that, and so, you know. And then when he comes back and he's going to be 10 times bigger, then we'll say, hey, I saw him back when he was just a little, 3 years in or whatever. So, but yeah, no, but Lewis was great. It wasn't a perfect set, but it was, as a professional, like.
He was at Six and Proctor?
Yeah. You could tell that anytime there was a lull, he knew what to do and keep the. I mean, it was an engaging show.
What's also impressive, too, is when there's a lull and they just don't care. They're just like, oh, it's quiet right now? Okay, whatever. I don't give a shit if it's quiet right now. I'm still telling my jokes. Like, that is one of the hardest things to try to do is be like, why is it quiet right now?
Yeah.
I had a moment, I don't remember where I was at, but I was telling my jokes. Oh, I was at Spokane. Yeah, this last time I was at Spokane. And I had just that moment of silence, and in my head I was like, they're all paying attention to me. How nice is that?
Yeah.
Like, everybody wants me to say more.
Uh-huh.
And then that next little silence, I was like, oh, they're still with me. I get to say more. It's just a cool moment to have.
Yeah, the first time I got offered more time, I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, they were like, hey, you want to go up and do 5 more minutes? I'm like, shoot, I don't even know if I have. But that was only a few months in.
You're never going to be ready for anything that they offer you, that anybody offers you. One of the pieces of advice that Nate gave me really early on was stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
Mm.
So if you got, 40 minutes of material, you can easily do 20. If you've got an hour's worth of material, you can easily do 35 or 40. Like that's the big part of. That's why I go to so many mics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've got so much stuff that I write that needs to be tested, and even if it's gonna be in a room like this where there ain't nobody here, I'm still gonna test it.
Yeah.
There's no point in not trying to. You have to do this to get better at it. So.
What do you think about comics that are having a tough time and they think that it's because it's Seattle and the mindset and that it's not really
they
them?
Think that they're not progressing as far because of
that their comedy is not being understood because of where they are. What do you think about that?
I see what you're asking without asking.
Yeah.
I think that those people, like you have done, in your wisdom, need to adjust what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't work in Seattle, it'll probably work in Linwood.
Yeah.
It'll probably work in Arlington. It'll probably work in Puyallup. But when you're in Seattle, clearly people don't want to hear that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's going to be places where you can say that stuff. But I think what happens is what they see as the audience not getting what they're saying is them projecting that what they're saying is not funny.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10, if the audience gets it, it's just not that good.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people who try to go for these subjects that are taboo and the subjects that are going to get those reactions. And if that's what you want, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
If you want laughs, adjust what you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't think it has anything to, like I said, I'm going to go do a dirty joke in Austin, Texas. Is going to get a way different reaction than a dirty joke up here. Like I said, I just watched Kurt Metzger.
Yeah.
He started off his set by talking about, oh, you guys aren't wearing the masks up here. And it's not that it wasn't a good joke. It's just, bro, we're tired of hearing it.
Yeah.
Like, we hear it from everybody all the time. Come up with something different. In the next 55 minutes, he had all different stuff.
People are still talking about the chop zone.
Right.
Which is that
was
2020.
What did Trump say? A large percentage of Seattle was taken over?
Yeah. It was. It was
some bullshit.
It was definitely taken over by
3 blocks that people weren't going to anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've walked to some of those shows that I've had in Pioneer Square. They're a little sketchy walking around those areas.
Have you been to downtown Tacoma? It's a little sketchy walking out the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, we talked a little bit. So, who are some of the guys that you said you saw Kurt Metzger? Who are some of the guys that you opened up for that kind of have? What do you think you're proud? Kind of a proud thing that So you know what I'm trying to say.
Josh Blue was a big
Josh
one.
Blue.
Josh Blue was big. Steph Tolev was big.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Dude,
she is so funny.
The coolest people.
So
too.
funny.
She is exactly like that. She's not as dirty off stage, but that is her energy all the time.
Yeah.
Man. She was real cool. Tony Roberts was insanely funny.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, very cool, very nice guy. I mean, the local guys. Brad Upton's always cool. Kermit Apio's always cool.
Yeah.
I mean, even lower than that. I mean, lower. That's what to say and then say people's names. But people on the step.
People on the rise.
Yeah.
Some of the
people who are up and coming.
Yeah, the up and coming.
Your Greg Beachlers.
Yeah.
Lynette's one of the best.
Oh, dude,
out
she's
here right now.
she's killing it. She is killing it right now. She's
one that I really, really like her as a person.
Yeah.
We drove to Spokane together.
Awesome.
Without really knowing each other, and then by the time we got back from Spokane, we were like, okay, we're gonna be friends forever. She might not think that bad.
I've never seen her I've seen her clips and stuff. I've never seen her in person. I was at a mic, and Corey Bennett was with her, and he left. I was like, "Oh, were you with Lynette?" He's like, "I was." I was like, "Oh," and I wanted to meet her, but
there's a bunch.
In
of people
time,
man.
people. So.
Who else have I worked with? A guy named Ben Brainerd that I worked with. He was real cool. He's an internet guy. He was funny because he comes in and he goes, "I need you to know I'm not a TikTok guy." I was like, "Oh no, I've seen your stuff on YouTube." And he goes, "No. What I'm saying is I was a comedian, and then the pandemic happened, and I started doing this video thing, and I got really popular, and now I'm a comedian that happens to have that in my back pocket."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that's cool, man." He was real funny. He was funny, man. I liked him a lot. Him. Who else have I worked with that was super cool? Billy Sorrells was cool. He was an interesting cat. I've learned something from all of them, Like Steph Tolev's real physical. I started being more physical after she did that. Tony Roberts is really theatrical. So like he also did something where there was at Nate's they always have the stool, the mic stand, and a table on stage. And he must have moved those things 700 times. I mean, I kid you not. At one point, he's doing this joke where he chokes out somebody, and he uses the mic stand as the person that he's choking out. This is just hilarious, man. I'd never seen anybody use props that way, quote unquote. Those were cool.
I haven't done any props yet, but yeah.
Oh, that's dope.
Let me just make sure we're still recording.
Yeah, no worries. Quick check. We're still good.
Hour and 2.
Nice. What else you want to know?
How about hey Craig, why don't you come sit down, man?
Come
just
join
jump
the combo,
on.
Holmes. We don't have sunglasses for you.
It's okay. Just go ahead and there's a switch on there. Just
the switch on the top.
Go ahead and say something.
Check.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
So there's the camera. You don't have to have headphones, but
Okay, for sure.
just be careful with the mic. If you drop it, it'll just cut everything
no
off.
problem.
But
What's
Craig
the name of
Stewart,
your podcast?
everybody.
Craig
How's
Stewart.
This is Comedy Simp.
Comedy Simp.
Guy named Nick Cody gave me that nickname. He said that I was just.
He called you the Comedy Simp?
Yeah.
Nick Cody said that to
he did
you?
that, yeah.
Well.
Does that allude to how often you do comedy?
No,
or?
it's he said that I just love comedy. I love comedians so much. I'm a simp for comedy, and I'm like, how is that a bad thing? How is
It's
it bad
not.
that you just love?
It's not the worst.
I get like
there are
really,
people that fucking hate comedy that still do comedy.
yeah, very true. But I get obsessed with things, you
Yeah.
know, like I was in a band, I was obsessed with music. And then when I was doing, whatever, vlogging, I was obsessed with vlogging. So how about you, Craig? Have you always been obsessed with comedy? Or
No, I mean, I don't even like to acknowledge how long I've been doing comedy since I've plateaued at the $50 bar booking the past 8 or so years. But I started in 2016.
Okay.
So yeah, it's 8.
So before the pandemic, you're one of the old school guys.
Yeah, I mean,
Jai
I started
Tai?
super young.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Jai Tai was my homeroom. I started when I was 20, and I'm 28 now. So yeah, I remember the Comedy Underground, Jai Tai. Those were my two main places to get reps in, I guess. But yeah.
You want to scoot in a little bit? I don't know if
sure.
you're in the camera, but just in case, got to get your beautiful
problem.
face in there.
Thank
This
you,
is
sir.
so. This show means nothing, but you just never know. I always feel like somebody else saying your name gives you some sort of credibility in the world.
Oh, yeah, dude.
So even I'm a nobody, but because I'm saying your guys, somebody's going to Google you. They're not just going to see your stand-up clips. They're going to say, now we're going to find out about who this guy is.
Yeah, he's a real person.
I mean, exactly.
Yeah, living, breathing.
And I know there's a few podcasts in Seattle, but there's not. I don't know if there's anything that kind of represents like the scene, the comedy scene a little bit. And
yeah, not really. Tiller did that one for a long time.
Yeah, Adam. Yeah, he did. And then he quit. But he's gonna be on this show one day. Yeah. We'll see. I just saw him the other night. But let's talk about Craig. Craig's here. Where do you like to do your sets? I know you're at Club Comedy a lot.
Yeah, I'm at Club Comedy a lot. I mean, I've known Rick since I started doing comedy. Rick used to be the manager at like our Punchline comedy shows is what the shows at Jai Tai were called when I started. So I would say like the majority of my bookings are probably at Club Comedy, but also like I haven't been like traveling to do comedy as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
So, I used to like always be the person, I guess like the first 3 years in, like I would always drive like 2, 3, 4 hours to do like the hosting spot.
The host spot, you get $15.
Yeah. I went to Walla Walla, Washington one time.
Oh, man.
I paid $50.
Jeez.
I like did the math on the revenue from the show, like plus like, gallons of gas and like an ice cream sandwich, and like after gas, ice cream, and a Red Bull, like I think I was negative $8.
Of course.
How's the crowd?
It was a good crowd.
Yeah,
but,
there you go.
It was like 8-hour drive on a weekday.
Oh, yeah.
Who were you booking those? Or was that Pat Wilson?
No. This is like at least 6 years ago. I can't even remember.
remember. Somebody who probably
I think Norrin Van was booked to host the show at the time.
Second time we mentioned this guy.
Yeah, and then he didn't want to drive 8 hours for $50.
Yeah.
So he was like, hey, I'm dropping out of the show. Do you want to do the show?
Nice.
And I was like, I was probably like 22, 23 at the time. So I was like, yeah, I'll do anything that has me on stage.
Right.
And I wish I started that young, man.
Yeah, that's true.
So since you started before the pandemic, was it a really were you like deep into comedy, and was it a big blow to you, or was it kind of like, I'll just ride this out and see what happens?
No, I think like the demographics of comedians, or like not so much demographics, but like the I don't know, what do you call it? Like intellectual diversity is better now than what it was when I started.
Yeah.
Like I think in 2016, like the majority, like kind of like the majority mentality in Seattle comedy was very like far left wing, politically inclined.
Yeah.
You're an asshole if you don't have more than one woman.
Well, I mean, that was the first year of Trump, so that would have been a fun.
Trump was terrible for stand-up comedy. Just like political policies aside, like I think going to an open mic in Seattle, I remember the first time I ever got on a callback show at the Comedy Underground was it just coincidentally was on election day.
Oh, wow.
Less than 10 tickets.
Oh,
so they canceled the show. So I was like, I had like this elation for getting booked at a comedy club for the first time in my life. And then I showed up at the comedy club like, yeah, everyone's too sad. Like, we sold less than 10 tickets. There's not going to be a show.
Oh,
and,
man.
Yeah.
That was like your first paid gig?
Yeah, Trump personally canceled my my first ever comedy club booking back in 2016. Yeah.
Well, he would have blamed the border. It wasn't his fault.
No shit.
He's like,
Craig, tell us about all those cats you've been eating.
Yeah.
All right.
All the cats I've been eating or fucking? Which one is it? Can I do both?
Ooh.
So I'm not going to give away your bit, but you have this bit about going to another country and wearing a passport around your neck or something like.
Bit's like changed a lot.
Was that based on something true? Did you meet girls overseas from being American?
The whole passport bro thing. Yeah, I can't advocate for it enough. It's a relief. It's a big ego boost. But the tag that you're referring to, I took that tag out. I still have a joke similar to that. But yeah, I guess like quick explanation is like if you leave the U.S. and go to like I don't know if like second world country is a term. It's not like the poorest country.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean if you leave the U.S. like the perception that the local people over there have towards Americans, like, oh, those are the people who have a lot of money. So it's like total superficial reasoning.
Yeah.
But if you're on vacation there for X amount of weeks or X amount of months, like, how can I put it? So like, have you used Tinder Gold in the U.S.? Have you paid $30 a month for Tinder Gold?
I no, but I do know about it. I know what it is.
You're familiar with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am familiar. I'm married. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But I do know about it.
So with Tinder Gold, like it enables you. It's like $30 a month. It enables you to see who already swiped right on you before you match with them. So you can you don't have to like blindly.
You don't have to
right.
match with them. You can kind of pre-match and like.
To compare dating in the U.S. versus dating overseas, I would say that when I would use Tinder Gold, I don't currently use Tinder Gold in the U.S. I got too depressed. But when I use Tinder Gold in the U.S., I would average anywhere between like 3 to 4 pre-matches a day, which is more than 0, but not enough to feel like I'm the man, you know. Yeah. But in Indonesia, it would be anywhere between 20 to 30. Simply because I'm American.
Because you're an American.
Yeah, like my bio was a 1-sentence bio. Like my Tinder bio in Indonesia was visiting from America, comma, let's hang out. And that would result in 20 to 30 matches.
All right, so this might be just a dumb question. Is there a language barrier in Indonesia?
No, I'm half Indonesian. I was born there.
So you speak the native.
I'm not fluent, but I speak it enough to get by.
Okay.
Like when I would go on dates, it would be like half English, half Indonesian.
So
she was probably trying to learn English, right?
I stayed with my family for about 2 weeks. I was there for 4 months. I took like a long sabbatical last year. Like I was in Asia for 4 months, but the majority of the time was in Bali. And in Bali, it's like a lot. Like the tourism industry is like 80% of the economy in Bali. So a lot of the women who live in Bali speak English to an extent.
Right. Yeah,
they're waitresses, work in hotels, stuff like that. So they're not that bad at English.
What are their? Do they have any personalities, traits that would definitely make them stand apart from American women?
Yeah, you're gonna get me in trouble with that question. They're much better in every aspect.
Shout out to the Indonesian women.
Way more humble, way more. Just way more.
This podcast is sponsored by 90 Day Fiance.
They're not fucking other guys while they're hanging out with you. It's
dude, that's a weird thing. I got married pretty well. I'm not young, but been married for a long time, and I didn't have a lot of that stuff. Like I feel like not just women, but just people in general now are just so much more free with their bodies and their sexuality. Yeah.
I mean, it's just I think I'm barely old enough to view that as being bizarre. And, I don't know. Like everyone has a right to go about dating however they want, as long as it's like a mutual agreement with the other person. But I always felt like the point of continually going on dates was to make it work with that person, Like if you meet someone, hook up and fly back to your home city, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, to continually go on dates, for someone to agree to go on several dates over multiple months and to want to continue to do that when you know that it's not exclusive, it's not logical to me. But other people are different.
Did you ever try doing any comedy over there or anything like that?
No, Vera Death. You've met Vera Death?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he told me that there's one English-speaking comedy venue in Bali. I found it, but I honestly I wasn't really in the mood.
Yeah,
to,
I would imagine.
One set the 3 months I was there. I didn't really. I don't know. I was just busy walking around and hanging out with other people.
Yeah.
Just resetting your brain.
Yeah.
Well, what do you? So you guys both been doing comedy a few years now. Been booked on shows. Do you guys have any kind of next steps, next goals that you want to,
No, you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, I want to start featuring at clubs.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a long way off for what my follower count is and how long I've been in the scene. But I mean, I've really only been emceeing at the club level about a year in January. So it's a little bit of a pipe dream. But I want to do. I've got enough time to where I can headline one-off shows. That would be cool too. The money's decent for it as well, so that would be nice. I really want to get into festivals this year. That's kind of my main focus is trying to get really good tape that people are going to pay attention to, and then submit to these festivals and actually get into them and go to them. That would be very cool. I'd also like to One of the things that's on the list for this year, this is from January to January, is sold out theater. I'm not going to sell out a theater, but if I could be on a show that somebody else sold out in a theater, 300 people, 500 people, that'd be rad.
Yeah.
Those are basically the main ones. Just keep getting better at comedy.
How about you, Craig?
Yeah, I guess it's just inertia at this point. 8 years on. I think I don't know, if I look back to the first 3 years I did comedy, I had that kind of that youthful, naive ambition, and I still want to have ambition, But I think like, I don't know, how do I put it? Like the first 3 years I did comedy, like my only goal in life was to become a headliner. And then like now that I'm 8 years in, I'm never going to stop doing comedy. Like I always want to have that creative outlet.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if I could just get like a cushy living wage day job and like do shows locally, like I can't really honestly say that I'm willing to like shed the day job just to do like, you know, smaller shows on the road.
Yeah.
Like I can be content, like hopefully featuring at local clubs. And but a lot of this opinion is just like, like after years of doing it, you know, comics that, you know, they chose to shed the day job and they're just like fucking scraping by doing shows, you know. And like I envy them. I credit them for like making that sacrifice. But if I can get booked multiple times a month, like I don't think I would take a big chance on my life just to, you know, drive to the middle of nowhere Oregon to do shows like that. But I don't know. I'm still willing to do those shows. I just need a few months in advance notice to you know, get in the car and drive to another state.
But I'll say like for the most part, you know, you do a lot of club comedy. Do you do laughs too, right?
No, I haven't been to laughs in years now. No.
Comedy / bar.
Yeah,
you go there sometimes.
There a few times.
Yeah.
I don't think. I haven't. I think I've done like maybe 3 book shows there total. Yeah. But I want to move closer to Tacoma.
Yeah.
Just to get more reps in the Tacoma Comedy
Club. Oh yeah, I've seen you on the list down there.
Yeah.
Like you sign up a lot.
I finally got noticed by the new manager. Like the manager, they hired 2 managers after Josh Firestein, the Asian guy. What's his name?
I don't know the managers.
Tommy. Yeah, I finally got noticed by Tommy. I was urinating at the urinal after my set.
That's the
and
best
he
way
said,
to get
like,
noticed.
"Hey, good set, man." I recognized him as being the manager. I was like, "Oh, sick, yeah, nice to meet you. Keep my name in mind." So now that he's seen me peeing and he's seen my set, I got to start going more often.
That works, man.
Yeah. You guys got.
You can also use that against him and be like, "Tommy was watching me pee, dude." Like,
yeah, I'm sure that would work out great.
But they have to approach you. You can't just go and just whip it out. Hey. Look
for the record, you can send anything you want to anybody. If you want to send anything to any comedy club, you just send that shit. It doesn't matter. Don't expect to hear back from them, but
I welcome any booker to interrupt me urinating to compliment.
Right. Yes.
Like beggars can't be choosers.
Or compliment the urinating. You know, you do that too.
Like I do that all the time.
It's always nice.
I need to drink more water, man. Sometimes I don't have a steady flow. You know, I gotta work on that quite a bit. As I get older,
creeping up on 40, man. You gotta get to have that colonoscopy soon.
He's a little younger than me. What year were you born?
95.
95. Okay, so you're about 10 years younger than me.
Yeah. Oh, you look decent.
Did that strike you? I thought it was
39,
on too.
Yeah.
No, I see a little bit of like
gray
salt in the beard.
Yeah,
but you know, you can pass for 30.
If I didn't have a freaking kid, I would look 20. But do you guys make it the entire night without having to get up to go pee?
No, I pee.
Oh no, yeah, no, definitely not.
Oh, see, I'm not alone. Great.
No, dude, that gets worse as you get older.
Yeah.
So you know.
Really infrequently? You don't pee much?
No, I do, but like I can't go the entire night without waking up at least once and having to go to the bathroom.
Too.
You know, no matter how much water or little water I drink, I just still.
I'll tell you, when I was drinking almost exclusively alcohol, I never had to get up during the night. I don't know if that was that I couldn't because I'd be passed out, but.
I pee in a bottle at least 3 times a day because I work for the post office.
Oh, really?
So it's like just to like save time on my route. What I'll do every morning before I get to my route, I'll get like a 24-ounce low-carb Monster. You know, the ones with the twist off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'll just drink that. That's my morning energy, my morning caffeine, and then I'll just piss in it, and dump it out 3 times a day.
Well, that's a good way. Those cans are good because it's
it has a large hole.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not big, but it's like, you know, peeing into like
it's clean
Dasani water bottle.
No shit, the little tiny cap. Yeah, it's
like
a little complicated.
Like the hole in the head of your penis. Yeah, you can't stick the.
You gotta put the bottle right over the hole.
Yeah. You can stick your whole shaft in a Monster bottle. Yeah.
Well, I say less than a year ago, I was fixing garage doors, so I was always on the run, and I didn't do the bottle thing, but I got to learn where all the bathrooms were. So every gas station that has the Jackson on it has a bathroom. Jackson 76. Scotty Coburn, what up? Yeah.
Well, didn't bring him.
Yeah, Fred Meyer, any grocery store. But yeah, there's this whole thing about like in Seattle, some of the bathrooms have a blue light, so you can't find your veins in there. It's very interesting, but. Shit, guys, we've been recording, I don't know how long, almost an hour and a half.
I can talk all day.
The mic is going to start at around 9 o'clock. Got anything coming up? Anything you want to promote? Any shows?
I was supposed to do Tony Peters' show today, but it got canceled. That's why I'm here.
Well, this is a very common place for canceled shows because that's how Quinn.
What else is going on today?
Quinn showed up here for the first time because he had a canceled show. Yeah. So hey, I'm happy to take any stragglers.
I'll take anybody who comes in.
But yeah, for the most part, they want to follow you on Instagram. It's like
Comic Craig.
Comic Craig.
A lot more simple than what it used to be. Comic Craig. Regular spelling on Craig.
You got some clips on there. You should do any shows and yeah, I know that I see at Club Comedy and Tacoma Comedy Club a lot. So, but yeah, if they want to see you do a longer set, Club Comedy is probably the place to go. Yeah.
Club Comedy, yeah.
Yeah, and also I gotta say that's a pretty cool little. We were talking about like crews and kind of like scenes and the Club Comedy scene. People like Nolan Culver and Scott Lossie and Mike Mazzalotti. I mean, those are all. I love the whole crew, those guys, and it's a really cool like thing that they do there. Yeah. Joey Cruz is a guy that comes here sometimes. He features sometimes over there and all that. So if you want to see Craig and he's doing some shows and he's gonna just keep doing it.
Yeah, if you want to see me talk about diarrhea and fucking my cat.
Fuck them cats.
I have bits about other things as well.
Yeah, man, and if you have anything you want to talk about or if you want something big you got to promote, you come back and we'll just do another podcast,
sure,
man.
Thanks for having me.
Brandon.
Coming up, I got.
He's got
this
guy. Hold on. I
got my calendar out, motherfucker.
Let's bust out the dates here, everybody.
This Saturday on the 14th of September, I'm doing Hopvine. There's a free showcase out there. Y'all should come out to that.
Hopvine in Capitol Hill.
Hosting, running Flight Path pretty much every Wednesday in Burien. I'm going to be on dope shows coming up, a whole bunch of dope shows. Comedy Voice competition is out there. And then in November, I'm hoping to get on Seattle International Comedy Competition.
Cool. And yeah, I mean, you guys, I've only been doing this less than 2 years. Any quick little advice, that practical advice that would help me out, you know?
I don't know, just like keep doing it if you like doing it. Like, don't stop doing it if you didn't reach like a predetermined
threshold
goal that you had in mind. Yeah. Like I've seen since I've been here 8 years, like the weirdest thing to me is like I'll see those Facebook memories where it's like on this day 8 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'll see so many names on like an open mic list from 8 years ago that I don't see anymore.
Even see anymore.
That includes people who are local headliners who like they just never surpassed being a local headliner and they just decided to quit altogether.
They didn't want to do it anymore.
A lot of them were like very talented comedians. So it's kind of like just because you don't get like the shining gold trophy at the top of the mountain, like you got to find other reasons to do it, you know.
So
I'm gonna piggyback on that too and say if comedy is not paying your bills, it should be fun.
Yeah.
If you're not having fun and it doesn't pay your bills, you can stop for a little while.
Yeah.
You can come back. You can do whatever you want. But the main thing that I think is, how do I put it? I always do my stuff and then I go home.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I do. I don't get caught up in the drama. I don't get caught up in any of that bullshit. And people are like, "Oh my God, you're the nicest dude ever." And I'm like, "No, I just don't talk shit openly. Get yourself a group chat and talk all your shit in the group chat with 2, 3, 4 people that you know and trust and love. Will keep everything in the group chat. You'll be so much happier."
I've gotten in trouble plenty of times for talking shit.
Yeah.
I can't relate.
Greg's like, "I talk shit, motherfucker."
I'm still in the mix with shit talking other comics, but sometimes things slip out around people who don't agree with you. You gotta deal with taking the flack.
Yeah. The fallout.
Just keep doing comedy. You have to do comedy to get better at comedy. We're gonna do it, even though there's more people here than when we started, so that's nice.
They will be here.
I got you. Dope. You got a little following. That's right.
I'm just we can go on a long thing about selling tickets to shows and stuff, but I know they will show up for an open mic. Nice. They will show up for an open mic.
Nice.
Before we end this, I got something random that just popped in my head, and all three of us, let's do it. Think of one comic that you know that everybody else should pay attention to. Somebody that you know, maybe a friend, maybe somebody that you look up to. Or
local level?
I've known Nolan Culver. He was a couple years in when I started doing comedy, so I think he's a little bit over 10 years in. But just both as a producer and a comedian, like, I mean, it's a long story, but I did the same podcast with Nolan. We both lived in Los Angeles at the same time.
Oh, nice.
Longer than I did. He's working closely with like Joey Cruz, obviously, Mike Mazzalotti. I've known those guys the whole time I've been doing comedy.
Awesome.
But even with the shows, like I did a brewery show that Nolan produced in Monroe, Washington a couple months ago, and it felt like a sold-out club show. It was like
nice.
A 70-plus person crammed into a small brewery.
That's awesome,
and
man.
He headlined Club Comedy recently a couple of weeks ago. I think I hosted or I did a guest spot that show. Like excellent 40 minutes. Like he's really
nice.
He's been fully committed to like pursuing comedy, and he's only getting better. And
nice.
Super nice guy too.
Yeah, well, I don't know him, but just his personality comes across as just being a great guy.
Yeah, he's a skater dad minus the kid. He's not a kid yet, but he's an early 40s skater. Therefore, he's a skater dad.
Nice.
All right, man. Somebody you know, somebody that everybody else needs to know.
Somebody who I think is going to be real big once he gets over his stage fright is Ezra Bonillas. I don't think either of you have seen him. But he's very funny, just naturally funny dude. If he gets over his stage fright and he figures out how to write jokes, he's going to be really, really funny. Somebody who people should follow that they might not know. I'm going to say Jeremiah Hughes. He's that guy for me who that guy works really hard. He's into the nerdy shit. He's into comedy, and if he just if he just continues working as hard as he does, he's going to be really big.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and he's supposed to be stopping by tonight, so
hopefully we see him. Guy.
I told him, I said we're going to be roasting me after the thing, so nice. let's do it. I don't know this person very well. I've given them a ride a couple times, talked a lot, but Jojo Blacko, big fan.
That is a good fucking answer. And Jojo Blacko is a good answer.
They're going to be on my show in 2 weeks, so come check it out.
Love it.
But yeah, guys, thanks for sitting down doing this.
Thanks for having us, bro.
Yeah, like I said, if you guys ever want to talk about anything or if you got anything big coming up, I'm happy to promote it. I am the Comedy Simp, so if you,
he's the simp.
I'm happy to share. If you got a show, send me the flyer. I'll send it to you.
Good, buddy.
Absolutely.
I'll make a flyer for you, whatever. So
dope.
Again, thanks, guys. Let's do a fist bump. Comedy Simp. Right. He's a force to be reckoned. Comedy Simp. The podcast you can't resist. Stephen Michael James, the host you won't wanna miss. From Seattle to the world, his humor will persist. Join the fun, get ready to enlist. Spitting fire on the mic.